All right. Jordan 65730 writes the theory suggests a maintenance jumper plug could be left in the wiring, forcing the engine's computer to see a permanent run signal even when the cockpit levers are at cutoff. I don't know anything about that. No, I don't think that's a thing, and that's not what the problem was here. The switches were physically placed to cut off, and they operated the way they're designed to cut off fuel. A few seconds later, 10 seconds later, they were placed back to run, but it wasn't enough time to get the engines to light off sufficiently to get enough thrust to stop the descent. My TV channel, in my Cessna 172, in a committed emergency hazardous off-field landing, the mixture is set to cut off just before impact as well as other steps. The question is, what is the procedure for prepping for an imminent crash in this airplane? Is there a procedure similar to that? And the answer is no, there isn't. The bigger issue is not whether the engines are running or not running. There's all that fuel in the tanks, and the impact, depending on how you impact and how much fuel in the tanks, is going to cause that initial explosion and the fire. The mixture thing on a civilian airplane is completely different than cutting off the fuel to the engines on a turbine jet. But yeah, that's a good question. At Snoopy Pie writes, why should we trust Boeing? In the case of the 737 MAX crashes, Lion Air 610, Ethiopian 302, Boeing initially blamed the pilots, even though the true cause was a deeply flawed MCAS system. That deflection wasn't about truth. And then he goes on to talk about this. That's a legitimate question. It's a legit question. And you know what? I think Boeing has had some issues in the past where they need to kind of bump it up. And it is easy to come right straight out and blame the pilots immediately. Let me go back to the preliminary findings here out of India. There was a lot of agencies, not just Boeing, all right? There was Boeing, there was the NTSB, the FAA, the AAIB. The Canadians were involved. A lot of different people were involved in looking at this incident, and they came up with a preliminary finding, which was that both fuel control switches were placed to cut off right after rotate. There is no procedure on the planet where that is a thing to do. There's only one real explanation for why that happened, and you can draw your own conclusions on that. But again, Boeing had some issues in the past. I don't think that's germane to this conversation with this particular incident.